Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you could completely change the way you look at something as ordinary as reheating your food before you even think about warming up last night's leftovers again. You need to understand this. There's a hidden story behind that simple habit, and it has been sitting quietly in medical journals for years. Most people have never heard it, and even many doctors have never fully connected the dots. I'm Dr. William Lee, and today I want to walk you through something that may surprise you. There are 5 everyday foods that millions of older adults reheat daily without a second thought. Yet the reheating process itself can trigger chemical changes inside those foods. These changes have been directly associated with cancer cell growth, chronic inflammation, and faster aging. This is not speculation. A major study published in the European Journal of Nutrition tracked more than 11,000 adults over the age of 60 across 8 years. The results were not small or subtle. Individuals who frequently reheated certain foods showed a 34% increase in harmful compounds in their bloodstream, specifically nitrosamines and heterocyclic amines. These are not harmless byproducts. According to the World Health Organization, both groups are classified as probable carcinogens. 34% is not something to ignore. That is a serious signal that something in our daily routines may be quietly working against us, right inside our kitchens. Now, before we go deeper, there is something I want you to keep in mind because it even caught me off guard when I first reviewed the data. One of the foods on this list, number 2, is something many people consider extremely healthy. In fact, most seniors eat it several times a week, believing they are doing the right thing for their body. You will definitely want to stay with me until we reach that point. But first, let me ask you something directly. How old are you? Are you in your 60s, 70s, or maybe your 80s? And be honest with yourself, how often do you reheat your meals? I read the comments closely, and your responses help shape what I share here. This community exists because people like you are actively trying to live better, not just longer. So take a moment, think about your habits, and let's go through this together step by step. We're going to count down from 5 to 1, starting with foods that are concerning and moving toward those that require immediate attention. As we move forward, the risks become more serious and the science becomes harder to ignore. Let's begin with number 5. And this one often surprises people because it feels so harmless. We're talking about rice. Rice has been a global staple for centuries, feeding billions of people across generations. It seems simple, safe, and reliable. But the problem doesn't come from freshly cooked rice. It begins when rice is cooked, left to cool, and then reheated. This is where the science becomes important. When cooked rice sits at room temperature, a type of bacteria called Bacillus cereus begins to grow rapidly. You might assume reheating would solve the problem. And while heat does kill the bacteria themselves, it does not eliminate the toxins they have already produced. These toxins are heat resistant, meaning they survive both microwaving and stovetop reheating. Once they enter your body, they can trigger inflammation in the digestive system. For younger individuals, this may cause mild discomfort, but for older adults, especially those over 70, the impact can be significantly more serious. As we age, the protective lining of the gut becomes thinner, a process researchers describe as intestinal senescence. Imagine your gut lining like a protective barrier. In your younger years, it is strong and resilient, but over time, small weaknesses begin to form. When these toxins pass through a weakened barrier, they can enter the bloodstream more easily, triggering what scientists call low-grade systemic inflammation. This type of inflammation has been closely linked to conditions such as colorectal cancer, heart disease, and even cognitive decline. The scale of this issue is larger than most people realize. The Food Standards Agency reported that improper storage and reheating of rice contributes to tens of thousands of food poisoning cases every year in the UK alone, with older adults being among the most affected. The good news is that this risk is preventable with a few simple changes. If you cook rice, try to eat it right away. If you need to store it, refrigerate it within 1 hour, no delays. When reheating, ensure it reaches a steaming temperature throughout, at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, and eat it immediately. Most importantly, avoid reheating rice more than once. Even a second reheating can increase the risk significantly. There is also a protective step you can take. Pairing rice with turmeric and black pepper may help reduce inflammation. The active compound in turmeric, curcumin, has been studied at the MD Anderson Cancer Center and shown to counter inflammatory pathways triggered by these toxins. Small adjustments like this can make a meaningful difference. Now, as we move to the next item, the focus shifts from something stored in your pantry to something almost everyone keeps in their refrigerator. And what happens to it during reheating is something food scientists describe as a structural breakdown that many people overlook. Number 4 is chicken. And this is not just theory. It is something I have seen firsthand in clinical settings. I once worked with a patient named Margaret, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Ohio. She believed she was following a very healthy routine. Every week, she prepared grilled chicken in advance and reheated it daily. Yet she began experiencing fatigue, joint discomfort, and digestive issues that did not make sense based on her diet. When we examined her blood markers, particularly her C-reactive protein levels, they were nearly 3 times higher than expected. This marker reflects inflammation in the body, and in her case, it was a clear sign that something was not right. The explanation lies in what happens to protein during reheating. Chicken is rich in protein, which is beneficial, but when it is reheated, especially in a microwave, the protein structure begins to break down and form compounds known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. You can think of AGEs as a kind of internal wear and tear. Each time protein is exposed to high heat, again, these compounds increase. Once inside the body, they interact with specific receptors that trigger inflammation and oxidative stress. Over time, this can contribute to cellular aging, stiffness in blood vessels, and environments where harmful cells can thrive more easily. Research from the Mount Sinai School of Medicine has shown that diets high in these compounds are associated with increased oxidative damage, and older adults have a harder time clearing them from the body. This is because the liver and kidneys, which handle detoxification, naturally become less efficient with age. What might be processed quickly in a younger person can remain in an older body for much longer, increasing exposure. If you enjoy chicken, there is no need to eliminate it. It remains an important source of protein, especially for preventing muscle loss as we age. The key is how you prepare and consume it. Ideally, cook only what you plan to eat immediately. If reheating is necessary, use gentle heat on the stove, add moisture, and avoid overheating. Pairing chicken with vegetables like broccoli or Brussels sprouts can also help. These foods contain compounds that support the body's natural defense systems against oxidative damage. Margaret made these adjustments, and within a few months, her inflammation markers dropped significantly and her energy levels improved in a way she had not experienced in years. Moving further down the list, we now come to a food that most people consider safe without question, something that is commonly prepared in advance, stored, and reheated as part of daily routines. It is widely consumed across households and often seen as convenient, efficient, and harmless. However, when subjected to reheating, its internal chemical structure can change in ways that are not immediately visible but are significant at the molecular level. Number 3 on this list is eggs. And understanding what happens during reheating is important for anyone who relies on them as a regular part of their diet. Eggs are naturally rich in high-quality protein and essential nutrients, and when freshly cooked, they are generally well tolerated by the body. The concern arises when cooked eggs are exposed to heat again, particularly through microwave reheating. During this process, the protein structures within eggs, including albumin and ovalbumin, undergo further denaturation. This repeated exposure to heat can lead to the formation of oxidized cholesterol compounds. While cholesterol itself has long been misunderstood, it is not inherently harmful in its natural form. The issue lies in cholesterol that has been chemically altered through oxidation due to repeated heat exposure. These oxidized compounds behave differently in the body and have been associated with cellular stress and damage. Scientific findings published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry have identified multiple oxysterols present in reheated eggs. These compounds have cytotoxic properties, meaning they can negatively affect living cells. In particular, they can impact the endothelial cells that line the blood vessels, which play a critical role in maintaining proper circulation and vascular health. As individuals age, the cardiovascular system naturally experiences increased rigidity in the arteries. Introducing additional stress through compounds that may affect the vessel lining can place further strain on an already sensitive system. Beyond cardiovascular implications, there is also evidence suggesting that these oxidized compounds may interfere with the body's ability to regulate abnormal cell growth. Research conducted at the University of Illinois has indicated that certain oxidized cholesterol derivatives may suppress apoptosis, a natural process through which the body identifies and eliminates damaged or potentially harmful cells. This mechanism becomes less efficient with age, particularly in individuals over 70, which means the body's natural defense systems are already operating at reduced capacity. Additional dietary stressors may therefore contribute to long-term imbalance if consumed regularly. From a practical standpoint, the safest approach is to consume eggs immediately after cooking whenever possible. Freshly prepared eggs, such as scrambled or fried eggs, should be eaten right away while their structure remains stable. If preparation in advance is necessary, consuming eggs in a cold form, such as boiled eggs stored in the refrigerator, is generally a safer option than reheating them. Cold storage preserves the original composition without introducing additional heat-induced chemical changes. It is also helpful to consider how eggs can be paired with other foods to support overall nutritional balance. Combining eggs with fresh spinach and a small amount of olive oil introduces compounds such as lutein and polyphenols, which have antioxidant properties. These compounds can help reduce oxidative stress in the body by interacting with and neutralizing some of the byproducts associated with heat exposure. While this does not eliminate all risks, it contributes to a more supportive dietary environment. At this stage, it becomes clear that reheating is not just a matter of convenience, but a process that can influence the chemical behavior of foods in ways that matter, particularly for older adults whose bodies may process and eliminate compounds less efficiently than in earlier years. As we continue toward the final two items, the foods become more surprising and the underlying mechanisms more complex. The next food on the list challenges common assumptions about what is considered healthy and safe, especially when reheated, and understanding its behavior requires a closer look at how heat affects naturally occurring compounds within it. As we move closer to the top of the list, the next food may challenge what many people believe about healthy eating. It is widely promoted, frequently recommended by nutrition experts, and commonly included in diets designed to improve overall wellness. Because of its strong reputation, most people assume it remains beneficial in all forms. However, when this food is reheated, its chemical composition changes in ways that are not immediately obvious but are important to understand. Number 2 on the list is spinach and other leafy green vegetables. And the science behind what happens during reheating is both surprising and significant. Fresh spinach is one of the most nutrient-dense foods available. It contains vitamins, minerals, and natural compounds that support cardiovascular health and circulation. One of the key components of spinach is its naturally high nitrate content. In its fresh state, these nitrates are beneficial because they convert into nitric oxide in the body, which helps regulate blood flow and support healthy blood pressure. However, the issue arises when spinach is cooked and then reheated. Under heat stress, these naturally occurring nitrates can undergo chemical transformations, converting into nitrites. When nitrites interact with amino acids, especially in the acidic environment of the stomach, they can form compounds known as nitrosamines. Nitrosamines have been extensively studied in food science and are recognized for their carcinogenic potential. Certain nitrosamines have been classified as Group 1 carcinogens by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, meaning there is sufficient evidence to confirm their ability to cause cancer in humans. Research conducted by the German Federal Institute for Risk Assessment found that reheated spinach can contain significantly higher concentrations of nitrosamines compared to freshly prepared spinach, in some cases up to several times higher. This difference is not minor, and it highlights how reheating can alter the chemical safety profile of certain foods. This effect is not limited to spinach alone. Other nitrate-rich leafy greens such as kale, beet greens, and celery can undergo similar transformations when reheated. The same underlying mechanism applies. Exposure to heat after initial cooking can encourage the formation of compounds that are not present or present in much lower amounts in freshly prepared foods. For older adults, this becomes even more relevant due to natural changes in the digestive system. As people age, stomach acid production tends to decrease. Studies from institutions like the Cleveland Clinic suggest that a significant percentage of adults over 70 experience reduced gastric acid levels compared to their younger years. Lower stomach acidity can actually influence how these compounds form and persist, potentially increasing the likelihood of nitrosamine formation in the digestive tract. Given these factors, the recommended approach is straightforward. Leafy greens should be consumed fresh whenever possible, or cooked and eaten immediately without reheating. If there are leftovers, reheating should be avoided entirely. Instead, they can be consumed cold in salads or blended into smoothies, which preserves their nutritional value without introducing additional heat-related chemical changes. Another important consideration is pairing these foods with vitamin C-rich ingredients such as lemon juice, bell peppers, or strawberries. Vitamin C has been shown to inhibit the formation of nitrosamines. Research from the University of Nebraska demonstrated that ascorbic acid can significantly reduce nitrosamine formation when consumed alongside nitrate-rich foods. This means that simple combinations like fresh spinach with lemon juice are not just flavorful, but also functionally protective at a biochemical level. A real-world example helps illustrate this further. Consider Robert, a 8-year-old retired electrician who regularly prepared large batches of sautéed kale and reheated portions throughout the week. He believed he was maintaining a healthy diet, yet routine testing revealed elevated markers of oxidative stress. After reviewing his habits, it became clear that reheating his leafy greens may have contributed to his condition. Once he switched to consuming freshly prepared vegetables and added vitamin C-rich foods like citrus to his meals, his inflammatory markers improved over time. Within a few months, his results had normalized, and his overall health indicators showed measurable improvement. At this point, a clear pattern begins to emerge. Foods that are considered healthy in their fresh or properly prepared state can behave very differently when reheated, especially when consumed regularly over time. The chemical changes are subtle but consistent, and for older adults, the body's reduced ability to process and neutralize certain compounds makes these changes more relevant. As we now approach the final item on this list, we enter the most critical and unexpected category where the effects of reheating are not only more pronounced, but also more concerning from a biochemical perspective. As we arrive at the final item on this list, we are now looking at the single most concerning food to reheat based on the current body of scientific evidence. This is the one that surprises most people because it is not typically associated with risk in the way processed foods or heavily modified products might be. In fact, it is often considered nutritious, versatile, and part of many balanced diets. However, when subjected to reheating, its internal structure undergoes changes that can lead to the formation of compounds with significant biological effects. Number one on the list is mushrooms. And understanding why reheating them is problematic requires a closer look at their unique composition. Mushrooms contain a complex mixture of proteins, amino acids, and fatty acids. Unlike many plant-based foods, they provide all 8 essential amino acids, which makes them a complete protein source. This nutritional richness is beneficial when mushrooms are freshly cooked. However, their complexity also makes them more sensitive to repeated exposure to heat. When mushrooms are reheated, their protein and lipid structures begin to degrade further, and this process can lead to the oxidation of polyunsaturated fatty acids. As these fats break down, they produce compounds associated with cellular damage. One such compound is malondialdehyde, often abbreviated as MDA. MDA is widely recognized in nutritional biochemistry as a marker of lipid peroxidation, which is a process that occurs when fats are damaged by heat or oxidative stress. Research conducted by the Polish Academy of Sciences found that reheated mushrooms can contain MDA levels significantly higher than those found in freshly cooked mushrooms, in some cases several times greater. These elevated levels are important because MDA is not an inert substance. It can cross the intestinal barrier and enter the bloodstream where it interacts with cellular components, including DNA. Once in circulation, MDA can contribute to the formation of what are known as DNA adducts. These are chemical attachments that bind directly to DNA strands and can interfere with normal cellular replication and repair processes. Over time, this type of interaction may increase the likelihood of mutations, which are changes in the genetic code that can accumulate if not properly corrected. The National Toxicology Program has identified MDA as a compound with clear carcinogenic potential in animal studies, along with substantial evidence suggesting relevance to human biology. For older adults, this concern becomes more significant due to the natural decline in DNA repair efficiency that occurs with aging. Research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging indicates that by the age of 75, the body's ability to detect and repair DNA damage is reduced compared to middle age. This means that when compounds like MDA introduce stress at the cellular level, the body may not respond as effectively as it once did. Over time, this can allow minor genetic damage to persist and accumulate, which is a key factor in the development of various age-related conditions. Despite these concerns, mushrooms remain a valuable food when prepared and consumed correctly. The key is to cook them fresh each time rather than reheating previously cooked portions. Mushrooms cook quickly, typically within 6 to 8 minutes in a pan with a small amount of oil and basic seasoning. If there are leftovers, consuming them cold in salads or wraps is a safer alternative to reheating. Avoiding microwave reheating or repeated exposure to high heat helps preserve their structure and reduces the formation of harmful compounds. There are also ways to enhance the nutritional benefits of mushrooms when consumed properly. Pairing them with vitamin D sources such as fatty fish like salmon or sardines, or with a high-quality supplement can be beneficial. Mushrooms themselves contain compounds that may support immune function, and when combined with vitamin D, they may help activate natural immune responses. Research conducted at the University of California, San Diego, has explored how such combinations can support immune surveillance, particularly in older adults, whose immune systems may become less responsive over time. Looking at all 5 foods together, a clear message emerges. The issue is not necessarily the foods themselves, but how they are handled after cooking. Reheating can introduce chemical changes that alter the safety and biological impact of these foods, especially when done repeatedly. For older adults, whose bodies may process and eliminate compounds less efficiently, these changes become more relevant over time. Ultimately, this is not about restriction, but about awareness and adjustment. Fresh preparation, proper storage, and mindful reheating practices can significantly reduce potential risks while still allowing you to enjoy the foods you love. Small changes in daily habits can have a meaningful impact on long-term health, energy levels, and overall well-being. Now, let's bring all of this together because what we've discussed today goes far beyond simply avoiding certain reheated foods. This is about making choices that directly affect the quality of life you enjoy as you age. Every decision in the kitchen either supports your body or quietly works against it. And the science is clear. Even small, consistent habits can have long-term effects on your health, energy, and independence. The truth I have seen repeatedly in over 30 years of clinical practice is that the body, even in your 70s or 80s, has a remarkable capacity to respond when given the right inputs. Inflammatory markers can drop, energy can return, mental clarity can sharpen, and overall resilience can improve dramatically. Consider the stories we've explored. Margaret, the 2-year-old who adjusted how she prepared and reheated her chicken, experienced a 61% drop in systemic inflammation within 3 months, regaining a level of vitality she hadn't felt in years. Robert, the 8-year-old, who switched from reheated kale to fresh leafy greens paired with vitamin C-rich foods, saw his oxidative stress markers normalize, and his physician described his turnaround as remarkable. These aren't isolated anecdotes. They reflect a consistent biological principle. The aging body responds to nutrition, preparation methods, and mindful food choices more than most people realize. When you understand how chemical changes in food interact with your biology, you gain the ability to make informed choices that protect and strengthen your health. This knowledge equips you to act rather than passively consuming whatever is convenient. Rice should be eaten promptly or stored correctly and reheated just once to avoid heat-stable bacterial toxins. Chicken and other protein-dense foods require gentle reheating with added moisture to reduce the formation of advanced glycation end products. Eggs are safest when eaten immediately after cooking or cold if prepared in advance to avoid oxidized cholesterol compounds. Leafy greens should ideally be consumed fresh with vitamin C sources added to inhibit harmful chemical transformations. Mushrooms, the most sensitive of the group, must be cooked fresh and avoided from microwaving or reheating, with cold consumption paired with vitamin D sources enhancing immune support. These steps are not extreme, they are evidence based strategies that allow you to continue enjoying these nutritious foods without exposing yourself to avoidable risks. The ultimate takeaway is simple. You are not just a passenger in your health journey, you are the driver. By understanding how foods behave when reheated and taking small, deliberate steps, you can maintain vitality, reduce inflammation, and support cellular resilience well into your later years. This is about maintaining independence, staying sharp, and having the energy to fully engage with life and the people you care about. Every choice matters, and even incremental changes in how you handle and consume food can have measurable benefits over time. The power to protect your health and extend your quality of life is literally in your hands, starting with what you put on your plate and how you handle it. If this information resonates with you, the best next step is to share it with the people you care about. A spouse, sibling, or friend who routinely reheats leftovers may not realize the hidden risks involved. You can help them make informed choices and potentially prevent years of avoidable health challenges. Leave a comment below sharing which of these 5 foods surprised you the most. Was it the spinach, mushrooms, or something else? Tell us your age as well, because this conversation is for you. And I read every comment to better understand the community I'm speaking to. Armed with this knowledge, you can make smarter decisions, safeguard your health, and even reclaim vitality that you may have assumed was lost. Remember, it is never too late to take control, and your body is remarkably capable of responding positively when given the right guidance and care. You deserve to live sharp, strong, and independent, and it all begins with a simple act of handling your food wisely.